Alright, so now we're going to talk about power sanders. The most important thing about a power sander is to keep your hands away from the sandpaper while the sandpaper is moving. Sure, right now it's very harmless, you can just touch it, but it's going to be moving at a very high rate of speed. If you stick your hand into the sandpaper, you can sand the tip of your finger off before you even notice that it's in there. So make sure that you keep your hands far away. Alright, the other thing to know is the disc sander is rotating in this direction. So this one has a little arrow on it to tell you that, but not all of them do. We have other ones in the shop that don't have that arrow, and other ones rotate the other way. So when you're using a new disc sander that you haven't seen before, you want to turn it on and just find out which direction it rotates. Alright, why is that important? Well, we only want to sand on the part of the disc that is from the middle to the outside edge going down towards the table. If you try to sand something over here, that upward motion is going to flip that piece of wood off of the table and it might hit you. So keep everything right here and right here. The other thing that's bad to do on a disc sander is to hold your wood up like that. Notice where my fingers are, right? This is a good way to sand off the tips of your fingers, is try to hold something like that. So don't do that. So you're going to hold the wood here, or if we had a larger piece of wood, we can take that wood and we can hold it like this if we need to. We can also feed it like this or like that, as long as we don't go past the middle or right into the middle, and then it gets confused and it's trying to go up and down at the same time, and that would be bad. Alright, so the on switch is over here. However, this is not a good place to stand when you're using the machine because all the dust and any bits of wood and pieces of sand are all going to go in this direction. So once you've turned it on, you need to step out of the way and come in front of it. We're going to sand this little round piece that we cut earlier. So now we've taken away most of the bandsaw marks from our little round piece. And that works like that. And I can put a miter gauge in there. Hold a piece of wood like that. With the miter gauge. Now we'll talk about the belt sander. The belt sander is over here. It shouldn't be used at the same time as the disc sander. Use that by over here. Putting it against the stock here. Don't try to hold on to it. It doesn't go that way. You can also use this round edge if you needed to for some reason. Alright, turn that off. When you first approach the sanders, make sure that you look at the paper and make sure that there's no tears or holes or anything like that. Don't use it. Make sure that you put a new belt or a new disc sandpaper on there so it doesn't get caught in the wood. And the other thing to do is to be careful about sanding wood that's thin. If you sand a wood that's really, really thin, eventually it's going to get so thin it's going to go through that gap and take your hand with it. Same thing for on this belt sander, there's a little gap here that's about a 1/16 of an inch between this guard or brace and the paper. If you try to sand something thin, eventually it's going to get even thinner, and it's going to go right under there and take your hand with it. So don't try to sand things that are thinner than these little spaces between the paper and the tables and guards. Now this has a table that tilts also. You can use these little knobs here and bring the table up. So if you have, or down if you have an angled piece. And again, like we talked about for the bandsaw, you want to make sure that you have it back square again if you're sanding something that needs to be square. All right, I think that pretty much covers everything about these power sanders.